you should buy Remnant 2. In my 30-hour play experience with Remnant 2, I came to the conclusion of a few things. It was a fun, challenging experience, even on the quote-unquote regular difficulty, and immediately after I completed the campaign, or the final boss, I wanted to re-roll the campaign and go into all of the other worlds, fight the optional bosses, and continue to discover secrets. The best way I can describe Remnant 2 is no BS. It's a complete video game. No microtransactions, a fun story, a wonderfully fluid gameplay experience, and it's just good. It does exactly what it intends to do, and it is a credit to Gunfire Games. The game is considered to most to be Dark Souls with guns. Whilst I feel this has many similarities with that specific franchise and the Souls-like franchise, this has its own unique experience and one that I have thoroughly enjoyed from start to finish. I will not mince my words. I'm not going to say, try and sell you on a lie. I think you should buy Remnant 2 if you're on the fence about getting this game and you want to have a nice, challenging experience, but not just because of that. There's all of these other layers of systems in the game that make it so much better than it looks out to be. It's not because any of these systems are groundbreaking, and it's not like they're changing anything specifically. It's been iterated upon that has a foundation in the first game. Boss fights that you go up against, they're not just big health enemies. You have mechanics, they flow and have a rhythm to each of the encounters. And while some games in the genre feel very punishing, Gunfire Games has found a way to find the right balance. By all means, you can play on the lowest difficulty, which is what I played on, which is the Survivor difficulty, and it is still an incredible challenge. You can go all the way up to Apocalypse difficulty after you've completed the main campaign, and even the Nightmare and Veteran difficulties are tough. You have to optimize your gear, you have to test your builds, you have to make sure that the playstyle you're going with is going to be the best, and then you also have to learn the mechanics, the way enemies work, and ultimately, it's a true challenging experience that most players want. Some of my notable favorite fights in the game, I'm not going to spoil the final boss, but I will say it is one of the best boss fights I have ever played, purely because of its mechanics, how it feels as a solo player, and how you have to adapt and learn specific mechanics within the game. I also quite liked the Ravager boss, which is the dog boss that you fight in Yaesha. Very, very fun boss. Learning the mechanics of that was nice. And there's also just so many bosses in the game. It's like when you understand the timings of the iframes and how you play, you will feel so much more badass when you originally play it. It's not just the boss fights that have a general flow in combat, though. Initially, you'll play this game like any third-person action game, but you do need to understand the attack patterns. Understanding iframes is key, and when you do, the game becomes a dance. The way that you play the game, there's a rhythm and a fluidity to it, and you know when you've messed up, and it feels good knowing that, okay, yeah, I got swarmed by a bunch of enemies there. That's probably on me because I tried to rush through some stuff, or I didn't quite time my dodges, didn't understand the attack pattern. But when you do get it down, it feels so nice to have no health taken away and just feel like you are leading the boss or enemies on a string. Maybe it's just from recently playing the game, but I just feel like the game doesn't give me any forcible stops. It doesn't feel like I'm cheated out of anything, and that's what feels the best. Melee abilities into shooting, into the skills that you have and the mod setups and such, it just feels nice and fluid and makes the rest of the game feel more enjoyable. Another great thing about Remnant 2 is the build crafting options. Now, that being said, it is hard to get your hands on certain items that are in certain builds because they're either later in the game, they're tied to specific worlds, and there's a whole lot of randomization in the game. But there are times you can find one piece of gear or even two that can really change how you play. Multiple archetypes plus many secret archetypes in the game that you'll need to level up, and even a new archetype that's been data mined that is apparently really crazy as well. The game has very many options, and you can change an entire playthrough and change how you want to do it. You want to go full tank, completely bypass enemies' damage and just tank everything and destroy things from close range. You can stack up a bunch of crit damage and destroy bosses in a few shots. You can stack elemental effects and cause explosions around you. Well, you kind of get the idea of where I'm going with this. The game isn't just locked into how you should play, it gives the players many tools and it allows you to be creative. I messed around with a hunter build with a medic and also had a bunch of bleed damage into crit as well, taking advantage of crits and also doing more damage with bleed, which felt very satisfying. And I haven't even explored half of the other options in the game, trying to do different combos with the archetypes and stuff. One, because I certainly hadn't had enough time with the game, and two, a lot of it is randomization to make builds really pop off. But I've seen some really creative stuff already on YouTube and online in the different spaces, Reddit and such, and it's a lot of fun to see people experimenting with the game. Choice and replayability means so much in this game, and you can have many hours of gameplay even after completing it for your first time. You can re-roll worlds to be able to get more scrap and upgrade materials. You can re-roll the campaign when you finish to have a completely different experience. There's even different choices that get you different gear. There's different bosses that if you defeat them in a certain way will drop a different gear. Loads of different secrets that are only found through randomization, and even on top of that, playing the game completely differently with a different class will make you see the game a lot differently. And I'm so excited to play a little bit more of this and test out some of the other archetype combinations, because I played obviously with a medic and a hunter, and I'd love to play with a challenger and a medic or the summoner class. And there's just, you know, a lot of options, secrets and things that all stack on top of each other. And even on top of all of this, you can up the difficulty. You can go from survivor into veteran if you want a bit more of a challenge. If you really want to challenge yourself even further, you can go up to the nightmare difficulty, then to apocalypse as well, and it's all another level of difficulty and fun to be had with the game. All of these options combined with fluid gameplay is the core meat and bones of Remnant. The story is kind of lacking a little bit. I didn't really pay attention to the extended story, just the main story, you know, the main campaign stuff, which is essentially stopping the root from destroying the world. But there's all these different side stories that you can go down, these little secret quests that you can go and do, which lead to bosses. There's so much in this game that it's, and even talking about this game right now in the way that I have, after only playing 30 hours or so of the game, is, you know, kind of doing it a disservice, because there's so many things to find and explore, different puzzles. I really can't state this enough that you should go and buy Remnant 2 if you're looking for a fun experience to while a decent amount of time away from other things. If you don't want any things thrown in your face, you're tired of live service games and the AAA industry not doing what you want it to do, I say go and try out Remnant 2. Even if you think it's a little bit difficult, just play on the lower difficulty, upgrade your gear as you go. It's such a fun game, and I can't state that enough. Gunfire Games is doing a fantastic job here, and you should 100% buy Remnant 2. Hopefully this video has been enlightening when it comes to the game. If you're on the fence still, it has been out for roughly a week now, so there's still a lot of things being explored and discovered, new builds and such that are being discovered as well. So there's going to be a lot of content for you to consume if you want to go and find it online. And please leave a like on the video if you have enjoyed this. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And as always, this has been Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.